I'd like to start off by saying thank you to Mr. Jay Adcock and his family for hosting us here today. We are really pleased to have the administrator with us, to have Congressman Rouser with us, and we are really happy to be in this beautiful farm. So I will not take a lot of time. I will quickly turn this to Mr. Adcock to start off our day. Mr. Adcock.
Well, as most of you know me, I'm not a public speaker, so y'all just have to bear with me a few minutes, but would like to welcome everyone. It's good to see all my farming friends. Good to see Farm Bureau with a big showing today. Our former Sheriff, Donnie Harrison, our administrators with EPA, Mr. Wheeler. It's been a pleasure to meet them, and yesterday I know Carrie and Owen and I sit and talked a little while, and you know, it's nice when they'll listen to what the farmers have to say. The Department of Agriculture, Commissioner Troxler, you know, it's very nice when we can all get together and work together versus having to worry about being dictated by rules without any say-so. So I'm really excited about what we've got ahead of us here now. This farm has been in a family for 5 generations. 3 generations of us have farmed it with tobacco. Started in 1932. My wife Tammy, she's put up with me for about 40 years in January. My son James and Jennifer in the middle there. But anyhow, I would just like to welcome everybody, and we've got water over here in a brown cooler. Anybody needs any water, and y'all just enjoy yourself, and we look forward to having a good time.
Thank you for the welcome, Mr. Adcock. I would now like to introduce Congressman David Rouser, who I'm sure needs no introduction to you all. As y'all know, Congressman Rouser has represented North Carolina's 7th District since 2015. He is both a member of the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure and the Committee on Agriculture. And so, you know, with his depth of experience and knowledge in public policy and agriculture, I know he is no stranger to y'all. So I will turn the floor to Congressman Rouser. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and appreciate the kind introduction. It's so great to be here with Commissioner Troxler and Administrator Wheeler. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to God's country. And definitely after today, you're definitely not going to want to go back to Washington, D.C., I can assure you that. And it's so good to see so many friends out here in the audience that I've known for a long, long time. I just want to say this. The government should work for you, not against you. And that is a hallmark theme of this administration, in particular President Trump and his administration. They have worked day in and day out to transform a very onerous, cumbersome, difficult to deal with federal government into a customer-friendly environment. And that's very, very rare at the federal level. In fact, somebody was saying just a few minutes ago, had you called me several years back and said, hey, the EPA administrator is going to show up, they wouldn't have let you know what the address was. I mean, you know, the old saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, you know, it doesn't ring too true, doesn't ring too well. But this is a different day, a different environment with this administration, and I'm just really, really pleased to help welcome Administrator Wheeler with the great work that he's doing at the EPA. Again, allow the government to work with you, not against you. I don't know anybody in any industry that wants to run afoul of the rules. They want to know what the rules are. They want to be straightforward. They don't need to be cumbersome and onerous and costly. They need to be straightforward, easy to follow. And when you do have issues, you want to be able to call somebody up and say, hey, how do I work through this so that we're in accordance with the law and doing what the law is trying to achieve. So, Administrator Wheeler, just really, really thank you for being here. Thank you for your commitment to carrying out the vision of the President. And you have a great audience here. I can tell you, this is the who's who of agriculture around in this area, and a few legislators as well that think they know a thing or two. So, in any event, great to be with you, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Congressman Rouser. It is really true that it is a huge priority for us under President Trump and under Administrator Wheeler to develop and deepen our strong relationship and support of the agricultural community. And as we do this, one of the great pleasures of my job to be able to develop and grow these relationships with our state agriculture departments. And I don't know that I have a better partner in the Southeast or anywhere in the country than Commissioner Steve Troxler. And so it is my pleasure to introduce your agricultural commissioner, who, as you know, has spent his entire career in agriculture as the founder, owner, and operator of Troxler Farms, and who has served as y'all's agriculture commissioner since 2005. And so I will turn this to Steve Troxler. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mary. We're awfully excited to have Administrator Andrew Wheeler here today in North Carolina, and to have him focus on part of his visit on agriculture is very special. And I do want to thank Jay Edgecock and his family for hosting this to the farm. And Congressman Rouser, thank you so much for your service and friendship through all these years. I know we lean heavily on you and other legislators in Washington. Chrissy is not ashamed to call and ask for what we need in agriculture. So we thank you for answering the phone and doing the things that you do to help us. Also, I want to recognize Senator Brent Jackson for being here today, and Representative Jimmy Dixon, who worked so hard on ag issues in our legislature, and it means a lot for them to be here. I do want to echo one thing that David said a few years ago. If I had said we're going to have the EPA administrator come down to North Carolina, I think everybody would have run in separate directions to get away. But that's not the case now. Last year, we were very honored to have Region 4 Administrator Mary Walker and Region 4 Ag Advisor Susan Parks visit North Carolina twice. We were able to tour Eastern North Carolina with them, explain what we do in ag in North Carolina and why it's so important. Anytime that you can spend time with partners and come to an understanding, it's a good thing. But this is kind of new with some of the federal partners that we've dealt with in the past, and things certainly have changed over the past few years. I want to thank EPA for their willingness to reach out and communicate with us, and I look forward today to cementing this relationship with the MOU that we're going to sign a little bit later. I think all of us know there are a couple things that EPA has been involved in that have really benefited agriculture. Number one, waters of the U.S. I think that's an issue that really brought all of ag together across the country, something that we all work to have changed. And we couldn't be any prouder that we have new rules to operate under. I know I was in Washington at a national meeting, and we had hired a law firm to come in and explain the previous waters of the U.S. rule. The takeaway was, if a raindrop falls out of the sky, EPA and the Army Corps are going to regulate it. And we all knew that there's no way that we could operate like that. So I thank them for that, and also for going to bat for agriculture when we started talking about the courts in California basically removing the labels on some products, ag products that we absolutely needed. They did go back and try to work with the courts to make sure that we got a shake at you being able to use it for this year only. So I thank Mr. Administrator Wheeler. I thank you. I thank Mary for their work. And I do thank you for being here today. I think you see a big contingent of Farm Bureau people out here. We are a partners state in North Carolina. So this partnership that we're talking about today, Farm Bureau is a big part of that partnership, our commodity groups, our other farm groups, so it is awfully nice to be able to do this. Administrator Wheeler was confirmed by the Senate as the 15th administrator for the Environmental Protection Agency in February of 2019. Before that, he served as deputy administrator. He has a history of working on environmental policy, whether at EPA in consulting or as counsel on 2 U.S. Senate environmental committees. I once again want to thank you for being here today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for the introduction. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. I'm really happy to see Congressman Rouser here. Thank you for inviting me to come to your district. I also want to thank, in addition to Commissioner Troxler, we also have Sean Harding with the North Carolina Farm Bureau. Sean, you were, I believe, at when we repealed the Obama WOTUS event, you were at EPA headquarters with all the other Farm Bureau presidents from across the country. I don't think you all expected to ever be at the EPA headquarters building for something like that before. It's good to see you again. I especially want to thank Jay Adcock and his wife Tammy for inviting us to be here today and for having all of you here as well. Thank you very much to the Adcocks for that. So I believe we have a good relationship with the farmers today. And I believe it's a different relationship than you all have been used to in the past. And I really hope that this is a permanent change in the way the EPA works with the farm community. We've done a number of things over the last few years. I think we've had over 500 different ag groups visit EPA headquarters in the last 3.5 years, which is a record. And almost every single time when I meet with a different group of farmers in the headquarters, they almost always tell me, this is our first time in this building, we've never been here before. I want you to all know that you are welcome at the EPA, and we want to work with you. We want to work cooperatively with you. We don't want to have an adversarial relationship. You all are the stewards of the land. You're the first stewards of the land, and I know that you want to protect the land for your future, for the future generations of farmers, and for the future of our country. We entered into a memorandum of understanding last year with FFA, and we did that in particular because we want to work with the future farmers. We want to have that cooperative relationship, and we want to start that early. Being good partners is key to the success of any endeavor, whether it's agriculture or business or agricultural policy. And at EPA, we have listened to farmers and ranchers concerning the lack of certainty, particularly when it came to navigable waters. So in April, this past April, we published our final Navigable Waters Protection Rule, which replaced the Obama WOTUS. Our new rule provides more certainty to landowners and farmers about what is a navigable water. We did something that unfortunately was fairly unique. What we did was we went back and we reread the law, the Clean Water Act, and we took a look at the Supreme Court decisions, and we based our regulation on what the law told us to do and what the Supreme Court has told us to do. Now, granted, since the Clean Water Act passed in the 1970s, the Supreme Court expanded the federal jurisdiction. You know, the original Supreme Court, the original Clean Water Act just had, the original original Clean Water Act just had as a definition navigable waters, and that has been expanded over the years by the Supreme Court. But I believe our final rule makes it very clear. In addition to defining what is a navigable water, we also define what is not a navigable water. For example, what is no longer considered a navigable water are most roadside and farm ditches. Farm and stock water ponds are not considered waters of the U.S. anymore. And prior converted cropland is no longer considered a water of the U.S. We dealt directly with farmers after the Ninth Circuit Court decision vacated the 3 dicamba registrations back in June. That court's decision at the height of the growing season threatened the livelihood of many of our nation's farmers. We promptly issued an order providing farmers with needed clarity, allowing for the use of existing stocks of the 3 affected dicamba products so that farmers could continue to use it during this growing season. We thought it was grossly unfair for you to have purchased the dicamba, have planted your crops, and not be able to apply it to the crops when you have it on hand. And actually, the way the court decision read when we first looked at it, you would have been stuck holding on to the dicamba because it would have been illegal for you to send it back to the manufacturer. So we took care of that as well. The order we issued helped mitigate some of the bad economic consequences of the court's decision for growers and particularly rural communities at a time that they were already experiencing uncertainty from the COVID-19 emergency. So it's my great hope that this relationship can continue. And the best way to do that here in North Carolina is to sign a memorandum of understanding that formalizes EPA's good relationship with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. North Carolina is, of course, one of America's greatest farming states. Agriculture and agribusiness are the state's largest industry, accounting for 16% of the economy, worth about $93 billion each year, and employing over 750,000 people in the state. North Carolina is the country's largest producer of tobacco and sweet potatoes, the second largest producer of hogs and pigs, and the second largest producer of poultry and eggs in this country. I'm going to pause here and tell a quick story about one of my former colleagues when I was in private practice. He's a big Democrat. We got along personally. He worked for a Democratic senator from California. Was a Democratic congresswoman from California. He's personally very liberal. He told me the story when he and his wife went to the grocery store and they decided they wanted to make some sweet potatoes. And he asked his wife, what does a sweet potato look like? And she said to him, Josh, you idiot, it's no such thing as a sweet potato. You just take regular white baking potatoes and you add sugar to them. So they bought a big bag of white potatoes and a bag of sugar and went home. And he called his mother to ask her how to make sweet potatoes. He said, we bought the white potatoes, the Idaho potatoes, and we bought a bag of sugar. How do you make sweet potatoes? And his mother said, Josh, you idiot. You have to buy a sweet potato. That's not how it works. Well, he's a good man. He's a good friend. It tells you that some of the people that are working on issues that impact you in Washington, D.C. don't really have an understanding of what you do, how you do it, and how we provide food for the American public. That's one reason why I get out as often as I can, and I try to meet with farmers everywhere in the country. I don't know how many of these groups I've met with across the country, how many different farm bureaus every state I go to, I try to sit down with people from the agriculture community, farm bureau, state ag commissioners, because I want to hear from you what your issues and your concerns are, because I'm not going to get the right answers in talking to people within the Washington, D.C. Beltway. We may not realize it in the D.C. area, but a lot of the chicken, bacon, eggs that we eat in the Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland area come from North Carolina. So do the sweet potatoes. And we should be thanking you every day, not just every once in a while. You all are feeding America, you're feeding the world, and I certainly appreciate what you're doing. EPA wants to work as closely as possible with the department to promote and improve agriculture, protect consumers, and conserve farmland and natural resources for all North Carolinians. This fits well with the overall mission of EPA, which is pretty simple. Our mission is to protect public health and the environment. We want to ensure that all Americans, regardless of where they live, regardless of their zip code, have access to clean air, clean water, and clean land on which to enjoy their freedom and liberty. And the Trump administration has a lot to be proud of regarding its environmental record. Over the last 3 years, air pollution in this country is down 7%. How many of you have read that in a newspaper? The press will not cover it. I say that in every single speech that I've given over the last year. As of the end of last year, air pollution is down 7%. You all need to help take credit for that, and you should talk about it because a lot of it is the practices that you are doing. Our water is at the cleanest levels they've ever been. And on the Superfund side, we have cleaned up and delisted 27 Superfund sites last year, the most in any one year since 2001. By formalizing this partnership between EPA Region 4 and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, we will, one, convene annual meetings to communicate priorities and activities. We will host roundtables and educational farm tours, and we will recognize farmers for their environmental stewardship that contributes so much to healthy soil, clean water, and great food. I look forward to hearing about and participating in some of these future consultations and discussions. I want to thank you all again for your time and your hard work. We'll have the signing, and then I'll be happy to take any questions that you all have. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Wheeler. And particularly thank you for coming to North Carolina and coming to the Southeast. We are always so proud when we can showcase truly our greatest industry and our incredible resources. I'd like to thank Commissioner Troxler and all of his staff at the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services for their help in organizing and leading today's event. As y'all have heard, under the President's leadership and under Administrator Wheeler's leadership, it is a huge priority for me and for us in the agency to grow and develop and maintain the relationship with the agricultural community. And I would echo Commissioner Troxler in saying that I don't know in my memory that the relationships have ever been better. And that really is why I'm so excited to be able to sign the MOA today with Commissioner Troxler. We want to continue to grow and build this relationship. You know, we didn't control the dicamba decision, but it makes an incredible difference when somebody can pick up the phone and call you and say, let me tell you what this means for us. We have these real concerns. And it makes a real difference when we can have just a conversation about how we can best work together to get to a good result. And so I am so thankful and grateful for this relationship and look forward to it continuing to grow under the MOA. And finally, I'd like to thank, again, Mr. Adcock and your family for hosting us at your beautiful farm. It is lovely here. Thank y'all so much. I think it probably is time for our MOA signing.
Yeah, I
Sir,
think so.
you're all righty.
I hope I can get my hands dry though.
Same here. I like it. I like it. Robert, could I wait?
Have I got an official pen? Is this it? I think we did it.
I think we did it. There we go.